guys, this is Sandy. Welcome back. Today's card is a Father's Day card, and it has this super adorable little robot image on the front, also with a speech bubble that says beep on the inside. So both of those stamps are from Clearly Besotted. I will have those details in the description below. So I stamped them on some Unisolar white because I plan to color them with my alcohol markers, and that cardstock works really well for that. I also emboss them with some clear embossing powder. It gives a little bit of a raised edge when you're coloring, and it tends to be my preferred way to do it. I know there's a little controversy about that and differing opinions, but so far so good, and I prefer it that way. So I decided to go ahead and leave the coloring in the video today. I am a slow colorer, so I sped it up quite a bit, but if you want to watch, here you go. If not, just speed past all of this. Okay, well that's that, and once I was done with the coloring, I trimmed out my images with some scissors. I do not have a die set for this stamp set, but I think there might be one out there somewhere. So once I was done with that, I was ready to work on my background panel. I'm going to ink this with some oxide inks, and first I'm going to lay down a stencil. This is Linked Lines from Fun Stamper's Journey. I used a spray adhesive on the back so that it would stick down really well. Those are a lot of little intricate pieces of plastic. I don't want them slipping and flipping up as I am using my brush for the ink blending. So I glued it down pretty good with that spray adhesive. Then I taped down the stencil with some purple tape. Really didn't want it going anywhere. I used Seedless Preserves, Chipped Sapphire, and Black Soot Distress Oxide inks for my ink blending, and I used a pretty heavy hand with the ink. I wanted it to be strong and bold and dark, and I just took a few minutes to work back and forth between each color so that I would get a good blend. I used these blending brushes that I have. I ended up just getting these from Amazon. I will try to have a link in the description in case you'd like to try them out. There are several brands of blending brushes out there that are all kind of the same. I'm sure that what you have works fine. You could also use a sponge applicator. There's lots of options, so this is just what I used. Once all of the blending was done, I lifted the stencil and then I added some more ink on top of that. The white is just too stark of a contrast, so same colors, just right over top the same areas, and filled it all in. Then I spritzed the panel with some water to activate that oxide part of the ink. And then I also dabbed some white paint splatter on top of it. That white paint is actually just some white acrylic paint that I have diluted in that spray bottle, and then I just used the little nozzle to drip some white paint on. I set that aside to dry because it needs a minute. And then I die cut the word happy from the tall type alphabet dies from Concord and Ninth, and I cut them in both white cardstock and this blue mirror cardstock. It's called Imperial Blue from Tonic, and it's fantastic. Whew, it's shiny and it's kind of fancy. I really like it. I just kind of measured about 1/2 inch up from the bottom, and I made a little mark on each letter. Now I'm trimming them because all I'm going to use is the bottom part of each letter, and I'm going to glue it to the white letters. This way it has just an accent of color at the bottom, makes it a little more interesting. And I think that that shiny blue kind of ties in with the cosmic feel of the little robot. So it turned out great, really like it. Now that my panel is dry, I'm ready to work with it. I peel back the tape and come on, this is so good. It's not just me, right? You all love those crisp lines. Oh, this is my favorite part right here. It's so good. I pick it up and that's just fantastic. I love the way that turned out. I'm gonna pop it up on my black card base with a piece of craft foam that I cut into a panel, and then I just tape it down to my card base. So that is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and put on my little robot and his little speech bubble that says beep. I used some foam squares to pop him up because I love a little dimension. It feels so good. You know, when you hold a card, it's got dimension, it's all heavy. I love it. And now I'm gonna decorate the inside of the card, which I always do, of course. I used these letters that I had cut, and the spacing is always a little bit tricky, right? And getting them so they're not crooked. One thing that I do to get the spacing right is I stick the letters down. I do the end letters first so that I know how far in on each side that I want them to go. So in this case, I just did the Y first, then I'm going to do the H, and then I do the center letter so that I know where the exact center point should be. And I'm just eyeballing this. I didn't measure like from the top or the side. I just kind of look at it, make a decision. So I stick all those down. It turned out pretty good. And I add a sentiment that's going to go right over top. It says Father's Day. I just embossed that on some black cardstock. And that's going to be the whole sentiment right there. Happy Father's Day. The only other thing I have left to do is add a white panel at the bottom so that I have a place to write my message. And that's about it. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you have a great day.